Hello everyone. So we are going to see today how we are going to assemble a wheelchair. Okay. So let's get started. Let's look at the types of nuts and bolts that we have over here. You will see that there are nails which are of the smallest size. There are plenty of those with the washers. Then slightly bigger nails which you see over here. Then there are two nails which are even bigger than this. They have threading all across. Then you have another type which you have only half the threading or one fourth the threading. Then there are nails which have two-sided threadings, and finally two big huge nails which have threading all across, but they don't have they can't be fit by a screw. They need a spanner to be fit, right? Apart from that, there are various other things like you have these holders, you have covers, you have seat, uh, you know, uh, to hold the seat, to hold the wheelchair. You have this kind of a handle cover, right? And so many different types of nuts. So please just segregate these things uh, on in your part of making the wheelchair, right? This is extremely important. Just make sure that you are segregating all of this. Now once you have this, just to give you an idea, the ones which are smallest are going to be used for seat and backrest. Okay, the ones which are slightly bigger, which are these, are going to be used for armrest and brake. So please see that in the smaller ones you have two which are still slightly bigger, so those are the ones which are going to be used for the brake, and four are of the same size, those are going to be used for the armrest. Okay, this is for the footrest. And we have the big wheel, this is for the small wheel holder, this is for the small wheel. So there are various different types. Just classify them as separate, and during this video you will understand which one has to be used where. Okay, now also you will be having a seat cover and a backrest. Along with that you will have some metal plates. Okay, these metal plates are to be inserted at the edges of the seat cover and the backrest. Okay, so these have to be inserted into the edges, and Allen key is going to be used for tightening the screws for the seat and the backrest. So let's understand which one is going to go where. There are two which are longer and two shorter. The longer ones are going to be used for the backrest, the shorter ones are going to be used for the seat. Now you have to three people will be required to make sure that they are assembling the seat properly. It is a time consuming process. The reason why it's time consuming is the nails have to be this plate has to be put through the concealed hollow part of the cloth inside it through both the ends. Then from the top of the cloth through this hole you have to put this nail through, and using an Allen key you have to make a hole in that cloth. So the thing is that when you start doing this process, you might find that on the wheelchair the holes might be slightly smaller. The reason is because they use a machine to punch the holes through so that it doesn't move a lot. So in our case what we can do is we can use a screwdriver along with a spanner to make the holes bigger, or you could actually first take the screw and using an Allen key tighten it just on the wheelchair, and once the hole on the wheelchair widens, then you can start putting the covers. Okay, make sure that you're using the smallest nail and the washer along with it. This is how it would actually appear after you have put the nail through the cloth. And if you see over here, uh, the metal strip is concealed inside, right? And this is a wheelchair. This is how it would actually look in the end. Okay, the final look of the seat. So it has 4 to 5 nails on one end and the same on the other. So this is a time consuming process, so please make sure that volunteers will need some strength here to make the holes wider in the wheelchair, and only then they will be able to put it through. Next is how to assemble the footrest. For the footrest, if you see, this is how the footrest looks. There is a longer nail. This nail has a this nail can be screwed in using a screwdriver only. So make sure that you are putting that. Then there is a small nut which goes through this nail, and there are two of these supporting black washers. So if you see, one from the top and one from below, these two have to be held like this, and they have to be pressed on this wheelchair. There is a size depending upon the height of the person as to where this has to be put. So generally what we do is we put it in the second or the third hole, so that maximum number of people can use the wheelchair. So if you see, we have to align the holes on the wheelchair to the black cups like this and press it in. Once you press that in, then this is what is our footrest. The footrest is going to then be inserted onto that washer. If you see, this is the footrest and it has to be inserted onto the washer, and this is how it would look. The holes of the footrest, the washer, the wheelchair, and the washer and the footrest across should align. And this is when we use the screw which has a star on top and fix it through and through. To fix this, we will need a screwdriver which has to be used to fix this particular footrest. So the footrest after getting fixed looks something like this. Right now, let's go to the small wheel holder. So this is a wheel holder which basically helps cover the smaller wheel which is in the front. For this we'll use the nail which has threading on both ends. Along with that, there are these nuts which are circular in shape, and two nuts which are big and one which is flat. Okay, now how do you assemble this is, take that small wheel holder, take the nut which is having threading on both ends, put the nut which is flat across, then on the other side put the other nut which was a bigger one. On the wheelchair at the side, you have to put these two nuts inside like this, the dome part facing inwards, flat part outwards. Then through this you have to place the small wheel holder across, and once you place that, you have to then tighten it from the other end using another nut. Okay, so I hope you are able to get that there were two nuts of the same type. One went from the other end, the other went from the outermost end. In between you have two nuts which are dome shaped, which went inside, they're inwards over here, and there is a flat nut which is keeping a distance between the two. Once you put this on the top, use a spanner to tighten it, and then there is a black cap which you put on top of this so that the final part looks like this. Okay, all the nails get concealed. Now comes the fixing of a smaller wheel. For the smaller wheel, you will need the wheel, a nail which is having threading only at the end. Okay, if you see this nail, it has threading only at the end, 1/4 of the nail, and you will need a nut. So that this one is very simple. All you have to do is put this through the smaller wheel, and on the other side put the nail and just tighten it using a spanner. So you see that a flat spanner is being used to tighten it. On the other end, you can use a larger spanner to hold it, and the tighter and the smaller spanner, the flatter spanner is going to be used over here. Then comes the next part, which is assembling the big wheel. If you have got the wheel and the tire to be separate, please make sure that you are putting the tire on top of the wheel. If you have the wheels which have already have the tires placed on it, that is also fine. For this you might require a screwdriver so that you can place the wheel properly. You would remember how you would place the wheel on a cycle tire, right? So it's exactly the same. you'll need the biggest nail over here in the set, which has threading across, and the biggest nuts as well for assembling the big wheel. Here you have the biggest nut and the flat nut. Okay, what you have to do is take the big nut, a big nail, pass it through the wheel. On the other end, put the biggest nut followed by the flat nut, like this, and this entire thing is now going to be put inside the hole in the wheelchair. So this is the wheelchair metal, and this is the big wheel. You have the bigger nut, you have the smaller nut, and then it has been put across. And then we are using another big nut which has a blue colored lining, which is going to be tightened using a spanner. So you can hold from one end through one spanner and then rotate the other spanner to fix it properly. Then we are fixing the armrest, which is pretty straightforward. There are 4 of these nails which have threading across and which are going to be thread using an Allen key, like this. So if you see, you just have to align the the armrest to the holes which have already been given, and you can just screw those using the Allen key. There is no nut involved over here. Then we have a side plastic frame where you have clearly it is mentioned left hand side and right hand side, so just check for that. Once you have placed the right hand side and left hand side plastic frame correctly, use the same nails which you have been using for the seat cover and the backrest and the Allen key to screw those inside the wheelchair. So if you see, this is how you will be able to place the plastic side plastic, and the big wheel would come over here. The plastic is going to be placed over here like this. Now the backrest is the last thing we place. If you see, the backrest has the concealed metal strip, and you are again using the same nuts and bolts for maybe the Allen key to press the nuts and bolts through the cloth, through the plastic frame into the wheelchair. Okay, so this requires some strength, so that is important. And then finally we have to install the brakes, which is very simple. Just you have to put the brakes and through the opening, just adjust the brake so that if the patient is pushing the brakes forward, the wheels, the rubber of the brake touches the wheels and the wheels stop rotating. That's about the brakes. And when you do that, you will see that the brakes are going to be appear like this. This is the side plastic, this is the big wheel, this is the smaller wheel, and this is the footrest. Now if you've done with one side, then you can similarly do the procedure on the other side of the wheelchair. This is how the wheelchair has to be assembled. Thank you so much.